Vinny Johnson and Lambeer just fired at Jordan. Michael doesn't.
They'll work their plays. Steele, he kept it in bounds. Here it is again. Oh, he gets it back. You'll see him elevate.
Only the result of one series separated him from eternal failure. Only such a high barrier made him level up to become the best version of himself. In Michael Jordan's mind, beating the Pistons wasn't just a game. It was a fight for his very legacy. To fail again meant his career might never be the same. The Michigan team was terrorizing every court in the NBA. They weren't just good, they were also the toughest. Led by Isiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, and Bill Lambeer, the Pistons were devastating everything in their path. An unrepeatable defense that revolutionized the systems of the entire league. The Bad Boys were a real menace, but more importantly, they liked to be that. They were the best team in the NBA. They were a wall that Michael Jordan would hit over and over again. No matter what he did, it seemed impossible for the Bulls to win a 7-game series over the Pistons. The Pistons were more than just a team. They were Michael Jordan's nightmare. Time and time again, they crushed his hopes, forcing him to confront his deepest insecurities. To win this time, Jordan had to become more than a great player. He had to evolve, sharpen, and transform himself into the leader he was destined to be. He had to finally become Michael Jordan. There was no better player than him in the NBA, or at least, that was people's opinion. Individually, MJ was a unique player, a relentless scorer, an unstoppable player who knew how to develop his arsenal against any offensive system in the league. But there was always one that stuck in his craw. Specifically, there was one that was actually able to stop him and hurt his production, and that was causing Jordan to fall out of the playoffs for the past 3 seasons. The Detroit Pistons wanted to win their 3rd straight championship, and worse, it looked like no one could stop them. Chuck Daly had invented a perfect strategy to contain Michael. The patented Jordan rules had been devised just to stop the world's greatest scorer. But if there was one thing those rules were, apart from harsh and punishing, they were effective. MJ and his Bulls had lost the last 3 seasons against Detroit in the playoffs. They were a thorn they couldn't get rid of, but this time, something had changed. Michael was no longer that kid who came into the league wanting to show what he was capable of. Now he was a man who wanted to prove it. He had grown a lot on the court during those seasons because of the hard lessons he was taught by other legends. Larry Bird's Boston Celtics were the first, sweeping him even with Jordan scoring 63 points. And now it was the Pistons who forced him to become a much more complete player. These teachings had allowed Jordan to step up to the next level. They had allowed him to become the leader the Chicago Bulls needed to finally be crowned NBA champions. But at the same time, his legacy was in jeopardy. If the Detroit Pistons were to knock off the Bulls for the 4th consecutive time, it would have triggered the end of the team's potential dynasty. Therefore, all eyes were on the Eastern Conference Finals to be played in May of 1991. The Pistons, who had beaten the Atlanta Hawks in the first round and the Boston Celtics in the second round, only had to beat the Bulls to qualify for the finals again. But Chicago, which had eliminated other strong teams in the conference such as the Knicks and Sixers, would not make it easy for them. The Bulls had already won Game 1, but that had already happened in the 1989 series, which they ended up losing. So if they wanted to overcome expectations for once, the Bulls had to win Game 2. Mind you, Chicago had only beaten the Pistons 2 games in a row once in recent years. So that second game was the most important game of Michael Jordan's career up to that point. He knew it all too well when finally, in front of a packed Chicago stadium, Game 2 began once and for all. And Michael was eager to show the player he had become. To demonstrate this change, MJ started leading by example, setting his teammates up for success. Look at this first play. MJ receives a screen in the left corner, drives and fakes, and then throws an unexpected bullet pass to John Paxson for the 3. But that wasn't the only example. Moments later, MJ finds Horace Grant again for the easy layup after a pump fake that, of course, draws the attention of the Pistons players. And right after that, on a great fast break execution, MJ gets the ball and immediately throws it to Paxson, who scores the midi from the left wing, giving Mike his 3rd assist of the night. However, everyone knew the Bulls needed Jordan putting the ball in the hoop. On this play, he gets the ball while stepping on the 3-point line and decides to shoot over the smaller Isiah Thomas for his first field goal of the night. something that happens again a few moments later, this time from the top of the key. Isiah didn't have the size to stop Jordan that far from the hoop, considering also his signature high release. Not only on offense, Mike was also sacrificing his body to get extra possessions, drawing the offensive foul from Mark Aguirre on this drive attempt. Another perfect example is this play, in which MJ gets a deflection that allows him to finish with a layup on the fast break, transforming defense into offense. By the end of the day, Mike was getting comfortable for mid-range, getting baskets on a catch-and-shoot like this one. At the end of the second quarter, Chicago led by 8 points. Although Michael hadn't yet deployed his full scoring arsenal, he didn't need to, because that night, his playmaking ability was elite. He was getting teammates involved in the game, he was helping them get into rhythm, but everyone knew Chuck Daly would adjust, and Michael Jordan would have to suit up to get the game out of the way. Now, number 23's exhibition in that second half, it was just surreal. The North Carolina shooting guard abused his matchup with smaller Joe Dumars for the remainder of the game on plays like this one. On ISO, from the right wing, MJ goes left, to rise for the contested midi jumper, knocking it down. Although that wasn't always possible, as sometimes Jordan would get matched up with Rodman, who was a much taller defender. However, on that particular play, MJ manages to get the ball back and hit the three on a pass from Scottie Pippen. Of course, after doing so, Michael taunts Rodman. Something that, as we know, was very normal in a decade when there weren't too many unwritten rules. Again on ISO against Joe Dumars, MJ uses his mid-range game to score another 2 off the dribble. The 3 inches of size separating them was proving to be too much that night, but that wasn't the last time MJ punished the Knicks from that distance. It was something he was watching over and over again. Every once in a while, in situations similar to that one, he would catch the Pistons defense off guard with a good pass at the right time. Like on this play, where he looks like he's out of options and ends up finding Scottie Pippen for a tough hook shot. That night though, Michael had everything going for him. Look at this play where MJ gets a handoff screen at the top of the key and shoots for a 3 almost without thinking about it. With those 3 points, Mike had 12 in the third quarter. But what characterized Jordan the most that night was his aggressiveness. He had always been an aggressive slasher, don't get me wrong, but everybody thinks twice about his options against a defense like Detroit, right? However, on plays like this, he gets trips to the free throw line thanks to the off-ball moves like this backdoor cut that veteran Craig Hodges manages to take advantage of. The Jordan rules said that Michael had to be doubled when posting up in the paint. So, taking advantage of that, Michael uses this situation to find B.J. Armstrong with an accurate pass, who knocks down the jumper from the left corner. Shortly after, he returns to his most powerful offense resource. With the umpteenth mid-range off the dribble, the show never ends in the packed hall that is witnessing a historic performance. Even though he was taking the shots, MJ couldn't get enough of distributing and making plays. Like in this one, in which he throws a great pass to Livingston from the wing that allows him to add another assist. And on defense, he was as focused as ever, getting alien interceptions like this one, and transforming his good defensive actions into baskets or free throws. As it happens on this occasion, it's something we could see all night long. Jordan was going to the hoop as if his life was at risk, as if by missing the next shot his legacy would be unfair to him. He looked so possessed that Detroit players could only stop him with fouls. Once, and again, with the game still unsettled, Michael gets a 2-on-1 in the high post. The Pistons defense overreacts once again, and Mike again passes the rock to Livingston, who also gets to the free throw line. But with the lead on the scoreboard, the Bulls just had to wait for the clock to expire, avoiding new Detroit possessions. After a few free throws, Chicago managed to make it 2-0 in the series. The Bulls, who had never been beaten by the Pistons by 2 games in the playoffs, looked closer than ever. With his performance of 35 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists and 2 steals, shooting 50% from the field, 100% from the three-point range, and 93% from the free throw line, Jordan had a historic night that would give him all the confidence he needed to become the best version of himself. We all know what happened next. Michael didn't just sweep the Detroit Pistons in 4 games, he didn't just beat the Lakers in the 1991 finals to win the first championship in Chicago Bulls history. And he didn't just repeat that success over the next 2 seasons. He went on to win 6 rings in 8 years. including his year-and-a-half retirement, in which he established himself as the greatest player in basketball history. As that figure that ended up transcending the sport and being known in every corner of the world, as that demigod who managed to bring the NBA to every living room in every continent. But we must be honest, the continuous defeats during the 80s turned Jordan into a desperate player. A player willing to do whatever it took to lead his team to victory. Even though he always had the gift of basketball, and even though he was practically unstoppable on one-on-one, MJ had not yet become a leader. In 1991, after beating his nemesis, the Detroit Pistons, that changed forever. The game didn't just mark the beginning of Jordan's legendary dominance, it was a turning point that showed us all the true success requires overcoming the darkest of times. His killer instinct, sharpened like that of a hunter closing in on his prey, his fear faded. His pressure to be the best player in history had stopped weighing on his back because, deep down, he knew that no one could catch him for the next decade. Now, what's your favorite moment of MJ's legendary career? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest content. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.